Welcome back. In this clip, we'll talk about the creation process of the sprite particles, and we also learn how we can import these images. So till now we have already discussed the workflow of creating the texture image for the creation process of the smoke. And just make sure that guys, once you are done with this, just bring the color of the fluids from the default value of the white to a little gray value. Okay, so this will make the overall render image quite flat. All right, and this is something little important also. So now let's save this file, and I'm also providing you this file by the name of the M502 end. So now let's take a new file and let's get started with the process of creating the sprite particles. Alright, now let's go to the FX menu, and inside the end particles menu we have the create emitter, and this time I prefer to go with the type as a volume. Bring down the rate to maybe a value of 150 for the start. Hit the option create, and just simply reposition this. Now before I start play, just make sure that you disable the gravity, and also one thing, just disable the drag for a moment, so that we just want particles to move up with their constant speed. Alright, and then later on, once we adjust the appropriate values of the texture and all, you can just start with the drag. Alright, now let's also do one thing. Let's change the volume to, instead of the cube, let's say we can have a cylinder, and just reduce this, and simply just you can scale the Y and just dip it down. Now perfect. And let's bring the value away from axis to the 0 and increase the along axis to a value of maybe 50. Let's also bring some randomness inside this. Okay, and now if I play, we have something like this, not a problem. And let's also provide some nice directionality to the particles. So you can select the particles and can simply apply the air field. Okay, just reposition the air field over here and make sure that we use the appropriate settings of the air field. We can go with the magnitude of value 15, disable the attenuations, and make sure that you don't have the use max distance, and let's say we enable the spread. Now if we play the timeline and make sure that we have the direction set to the X positive. Alright, so hit the timeline and see, yes, now these particles are moving towards this directions. We can comfortably add the lifespan pp as well as the opacity to kill the particles. Alright, let's also increase the magnitude to maybe a value of 25, and let's see what we have. Alright, this is quite good. We can also increase the along axis value to maybe 65, so that we can have the smoke reach to a more altitude, and then it should start taking some turn due to the impact of the air. Alright, now let's change the particle type from the point to the sprite, and over here inside the shading you can change the particle data type from point to the sprite. Alright, now the moment you click the sprite, notice one thing: these are a small planes, some small square kind of particles, and the beauty of these particles is that they always face towards the camera. So if you just try to change the camera position, so if you try to tumble the camera, you can notice that all these particles will consistently face towards the camera. Alright, so now let's do one thing. Now let's start improving the overall simulations. Yes, we need to create an impact of a smoke from these given set of the particles or the given set of the sprite images. So the first thing is we can go inside the per particle attributes and bring the sprite twist pp, bring the sprite scale x pp and y pp. So scale x and y pp simply means we can scale the sprite particles or this texture images from both x and y scales, and twist pp will simply rotate the sprite. So with this we can have some more randomness inside the sprite particles. Hit the option OK. So let me just simply increase the scale x and y. So let's go over here and apply a ramp, and let's delete the mid value and increase this So this is the min value, this is the max value, this is for the starting frames, and this is for the end frames. So let's say if we select the last values of the color entry list, click over here, selected color, and increase the value to maybe around, let's say 30, quite a high value. Okay, and for the first color entry list, that is for the starting of the particles, let's change the value to maybe around 10, or let's say 15. Okay, and as you may be thinking that why there is no change, so you need to roll back the timeline and you can see the change. So this is not looking something great. So what we can do, we can simply plug the ramp 1 inside the scale YPP. So in any case you want to change your value, one change will reflect the changes in the another attribute as well, because now X and Y PP will have the same ramp. So you can go inside the create ramp, and instead of making map to a new ramp, take the previous one, hit the option OK. Now if you play, you can see we have quite a big images. So the overall lifespan is also very less, so by default it has changed this to a constant value 1. Let's increase the value to maybe 4. Alright, and now if you play the timeline, you can see the particles are comfortably going over there, not a problem. Now let's call the texture images. So we have a very special algorithm to bring the images. However, one can do that thing manually, but I really suggest you that you should go with the Sprite wizard. Well, Sprite wizard is a command that allows you to apply the image or a sequence of images, either in a random way, or you can say starting from the first frame. You can also increase the frame length, you can also increase or decrease the speed of the frame. So it provides you with a lot of options. So first we need to go inside the Sprite wizard, and let's give the path. So let me hit the browse option and give the path. Alright, so now I provided the path, and the image is the max length is from 1 to the 50. Hit the option continue. Now it will ask you image assignment. Do you want no animation, use a single image for each particle? Absolutely not. The reason we have created 50 images because we want cycle through the image for each particle. Go for continue, and it's saying that select the technique used to assign the initial sprite to each particles. Well, we can use a random. That would be much better. That can give us with a more organic feel. Now continue this thing, and let's say we have linearly increasing. Okay, just leave this to the default. It is simply saying that how do you want the image to be cycled for each particle, so that every one image should keep on increasing from 1 to the 50 with a constant speed. Let's say linearly increasing. Alright, we don't want to have a slow in and slow out. Let's say it is simple linearly increasing. So hit the option continue and hit the option apply. So now you're done. So press the option 6, and here we go. So at present it is not looking something that much impressive, and we can simply control this, not a problem. So let's first of all do one thing. Let's select the particles and apply the opacity PP to the particles. So we can go inside the add dynamic attributes opacity and use the add per particle attribute. Now inside the opacity PP, simply drop a ramp and just disable the mid color entry list and use the interpolation as a type exponential down. Okay, now another problem is that we don't have the randomness inside the sprite twist PP attributes. So let's do one thing. Let's take a pause from this clip, and we'll continue the same topic in the next clip, where I'll talk about the sprite twist per particles, as well as I'll also talk about how we can bring down some changes with respect to the overall color and opacities of those particles. Alright, so let's get started with the next clip.